Welcome to Leadership Matters. My name is Mezie Okolo, and I bring you greetings today from right place. Today I want to quickly talk about the 3 A's of effective leadership. And by this, I want to talk about availability, affordability, and accessibility. So in the field of leadership, and of course healthcare and entrepreneurship, where I have backgrounds, availability, affordability, and accessibility are very great important concepts. It's not enough for a person or a thing to be available in the marketplace. He or it has to be affordable and accessible too. So without affordability, availability profits nothing. And without availability, affordability profits nothing. Then without availability and affordability, there is no accessibility. So let's consider healthcare, for example. Any of these three could be a major problem, especially to the poor. We have already argued in previous episode that healthcare for the poor, for the most part, is poor healthcare. And this is the problem of developing countries. Sometimes the poor have poor health because they have access only to poor healthcare. At other times, the poor are poor because they have poor health and poor healthcare. So they are either unemployed, poorly employed, or grossly underemployed, whichever suits your fancy. And this relationship between poverty, poor health, and poor health care have been amply demonstrated in literature. So, to get some great leaders to speak in a conference, for example, talking about within the secular space, or even in an event, could be a big problem. And so when the poor plan events, they can't afford to hire a quality speaker. Now, any of these 3 A's also could be an issue in any setting, for that matter. And of course, to honor an invitation, this speaker has to be available, he has to be affordable, and he has to be accessible. Again, if you consider that, the problem is that meeting these 3 conditions in one person at a given time could be difficult and maybe also unpredictable. It could be about the time of the year, the individual's itinerary, and other issues that border around affordability. But a leader who is available may not be affordable. And the one who is accessible may not be available, and the one who is available and somewhat accessible may not be affordable. So how do you navigate these issues within the organization given tight budgets, especially in these present economic realities? What trade-offs are you willing to make and yet achieve the purpose for which you want to reach out to a leader or to some leaders to be able to get the kind of result you want? What knowledge, insight, and empowerment strategies do you stand to trade off if you settle for someone else who you can readily afford? These are some of the leadership questions that you have to consider. And effective leaders are generally accessible leaders. Accessible leaders are not just available, but they don't build walls around themselves. They can be reached as need arises, and they are responsive to the people that they lead. It is not difficult to actually differentiate an inaccessible leader from an accessible one. Even then, some leaders are actively accessible, while others are passively accessible. While the actively accessible ones reach out to their team and connect with their members, the passively accessible ones maintain some kind of open door policy, where members can reach out to them with issues, concerns, and questions. Although passively accessible leadership is better than inaccessible leadership, actively accessible leadership will always win the vote every single time, because passive leadership misses lots of opportunities to know what's going on and to be able to make inputs before they become a crisis, because most employees will not take advantage of the so-called open door policy. And every leader needs to be very effective, and that demands connecting and communicating with your team, especially with those who would ordinarily not come to you. You may be surprised where you would get the greatest ideas on how to move your organization forward when you engage with your leaders. And this is very important if you are trying to be a very effective leader. Of course, one thing that we also need to consider, and one of the things that I also like about my profession, pharmacy, for example, is that the pharmacists are very available, affordable, and accessible. Why did I say that? They are much more accessible than the communities than pastors, lawyers, doctors, nurses, teachers, engineers, and I stand corrected. So, because when you come to the marketplace, the healthcare marketplace, you can pick up your phone and call a pharmacist and ask any questions. You don't have to fill any forms. You can walk up to him and you can stop him on the road and ask questions. There's no need. They don't ask, do you have health insurance? They don't send you to go and make an appointment to talk to their technicians or to book an appointment with their secretaries. They just answer your question. So, how many hours do some of you wait to speak to your pastor for 3 minutes? And what about your doctor? So, does that ring a bell to you? I'm not trying to say that pharmacists are better than anybody else. I'm saying that we are more available and we are more accessible. And this is important for us. So, let us take a cue from that if we want to build a successful and an effective leaders. And so I ask you today, as a leader within your space, how available, how affordable, and how accessible are you? Sometimes your services may be free, but the protocol, the issues they have to go through before they access that free service could be more expensive than even charging for the service in itself. Are you affordable? Are you accessible? Do people have to follow long prompts on the phone to leave a message or to speak to you? Impact is easy when you understand the place of availability, affordability, and accessibility in your calling or office. When you create unnecessary barriers, you water down your leadership effectiveness and you undermine your organizational efficiency. So it's good to build walls, and otherwise it's good to build bridges and not walls. Otherwise you make yourself inefficient and irrelevant. Again, today consider the 3 areas of effective leadership and extend hands of fellowship. My name is Mezier Okolo from The Right Place. Thank you.